I became who I am today because of my past. Today, I'm able to access the internet, receive a free education, and meet a diverse group of young people. However, that was not always the case for me. You see, growing up in India was a life completely different to the one I'm living now. I lived in a small town in the state of Uttar Pradesh, in the north of the country, that barely had fancy cars and glamorous buildings. It is a town detached from the outside world and the hustle and bustle of city life. The reality was, I actually saw more chickens on a daily basis than cars going by. In fact, my version of social networking was playing a game called Kabaddi with the street kids. And would you believe, I thought Google was the internet. It is safe to say I was living in my own poverty-stricken bubble with the rest of the world driving past me. The reality was, I didn't even know England existed. However, my ignorance was soon to be disbanded when me and my mother moved to the UK in 2005. But despite having to learn a new language and adapt to a new culture, my new life in England was great. And little did I know that at the age of 15, my work experience at the Houses of Parliament would cause me to realize that although the two countries are miles apart, there is one similarity, one common denominator that binds the two countries together. And this is the misrepresentation of females, both in politics and in media. Now, currently, 51% of the world's population is female. That's about 3.5 billion, and in the UK, that's approximately 30 million women, give or take. So the question is, why is it that only 24% are represented in Parliament? And why is it that there has only been one female political leader in one of the most free and liberal societies? Why? And also in India, women are still the minority in politics. I mean, surely you would agree that this is not right, because aren't our politicians are supposed to represent the people? Well, who is being represented when only one woman has made it to the top? This is a failing within our political system. Its ramifications are wider than just politics. And on top of this, in general, how many sports stars, directors, scientists, or other influential women figures can you think of? Well, could it be the way our media portrays our females have something to do with it? Because as a 17-year-old, when I turn on the TV, I often see women playing second fiddle to men, being the Robin to their Batman, always being portrayed as the damsel in distress. And when a woman gets a lead role, she's often selling her image as well as her skill. Now, what message is this sending? I mean, this would be okay if the male counterparts had the same pressure, but they don't. Men are judged on a list of attributes, such as charisma and intellect, instead of being rated on something unimportant, unearned, and unneeded. But the majority of famous female figures must strive to maintain their perfect figure to keep their prominent role in media. However, in politics, it's different. A woman's voice can be heard without the pressure of how she looks, and young girls can look up to the powerful woman as their role model and borrow some of their passion to feed their future selves. Because the reality is, children look up to role models. They inspire to be like them. They copy them. They imitate their actions. However, we'll take my mother and my auntie, for example, who could have never dreamed that one day they would be in England with something as trivial with a TV that has a remote. Because they lived in a society where women are still expected to be houseworkers. However, not for my auntie, who became inspired by her first ever woman governor, Sarojini Naidu. Through reading her work, she fought to go to school and study, which eventually led to her coming to England. And my mother recently followed her sister, and this is why I'm here today. Now, this is just a simple example of how a positive role model can create such a huge impact on a woman's desire to confidence, courage, and education. But when she first started reading about Sarojini Naidu, I'm sure she could have never imagined that it would lead to her niece giving a speech here on TEDx Croydon on the empowerment of women. Yet, here I am. Now, coming to England, I can fully appreciate the opportunity we have been given in this country. I've been given this unique opportunity to be able to express myself without being considered second class. But for young girls in India, going outside alone is still a concern. I mean, how can a young girl be empowered when she cannot go to school without a man accompanying her? My cousin, who I grew up in India with, has recently graduated from university. However, she cannot get a job as she cannot travel alone to work. So even with a degree, her only real option is to work at home. And it's personal stories like these that allows me to appreciate the opportunity we have been given in this country. But it is well understood that excluding the majority of females from the Indian workforce will have an effect on their economy and their standard of living. These effects are not exclusive to India alone. The exclusion of women from the highest position of UK society means we are missing out. There's a wealth of untapped potential locked away due to what can only be described as discrimination. So now, you must be wondering, well, what is women in politics really about? Well, let me tell you. Having a woman in politics conveys confidence and energy, a breath of vision that can capture the imaginations of future generations. It allows young girls to dream that they too can play a pivotal role. It can inspire an optimism which will positively end gender inequality. A change that cannot be measured without the luxury of hindsight. The hard work, campaigning, shouting, screaming has been done. And we owe so much to the suffragettes. But it's now our turn. And we're standing on the shoulders of giants. We can make a change. The glass ceiling has been moved up a few floors and is being thoroughly polished. So now we can see the top and use these shoulders to break that glass ceiling. But it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to actually act upon what has been said here today. We are the custodians of women's empowerment. We need more women in politics, but it is up to us to make this change. So my challenge to you, ladies and gentlemen, is to be the change that you want to see in our world today. Be the change that our society is so craving for. Get involved in politics, whether it be local or national level. And not only to inspire young girls, but to change British society and the rest of the world. So are you someone sitting here wondering, well, what can I do about this issue? How can I get more women in politics? How can I influence decision makers to actually act upon what has been said here today? Well, that was me, until I came across change.org, an online petition website that is bringing social change across the world. And when researching, I found this tool of direct action truly astonishing. So I decided to start my own petition, asking David Cameron, Ed Miliband, and Nick Clegg to debate the issue of lack of female politicians and actually do something about it. But then I realized that for it to actually reach to them, it needs 100,000 signatures. And I know this sounds like a lot, but I also know that it is possible with your support. So I urge you all to sign this petition today, so together we can get more women in politics and change our political system for good. Let's make political equality a reality, because if we don't, then who will? Thank you.